Welcome back to the Decision Maker series brought to you by the Chesapeake Department of Economic Development and WCTV TV. I'm Joel Rubin. Pleased to be moderating this discussion. We're about to start our second half of this hour program, and we've got a great panel for you to continue the discussion. And we're starting with Lisa Ryan, who's the provost of Tidewater Community College's Chesapeake campus. Also with us is Ben White, who's the Assistant Director of the Department of Economic Development for the great city of Chesapeake. Kathy Vick is here. She's the Chief Public Affairs Officer for the Port of Virginia. Allie Ryan Butler is with us. He's a journalism and digital media professor at Hampton University. And Kevin Will is here. He's the President and CEO of Junior Achievement of Hampton Roads, which spends quite a bit of time helping our kids understand business. And we're talking about, business today. One of our biggest businesses, Kathy, is the Port of Virginia. And we've got, to orient people, we've got major ports in Norfolk, Portsmouth, Newport News, also up in Richmond. We got an inland port also. And we talked in our first segment about the three-legged stool of our economy being the military, tourism, and the port. And we need to diversify our economy, but we still got to grow those three segments. And a lot of folks think the port is where a lot of that growth should come from. True?
Yes, it's actually a very exciting time at the port. We just received $350 million investment by the General Assembly and the governor, and we're also in negotiations to expand one of our major container facilities in Portsmouth. So we'll be adding 1 million containers of capacity. And people might not know what that means, but what that means is more jobs, right? Because when you get up in the morning and you brush your hair, that hairbrush probably came in a container through the port. Folks don't really think about that. But also what that means, and we work with our partners like the City of Chesapeake Economic Development, that means bringing in new companies, both companies that want to export, like advanced manufacturing, flooring, things like that, but also those imports, and they need distribution centers and warehousing and things like that. So definitely as we continue to grow our capacity at the port, we continue to grow those jobs and economic development across the Commonwealth.
And that's what companies need to see. They want to see more capacity at our ports, and then they go, we'll take you over Savannah, we'll take you over Baltimore. Is that how this works?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They come here looking for the opportunity to grow their business, and certainly access to the world through the port is what helps them to do that. We have, like the rest of Hampton Roads, Chesapeake has distribution, logistics, warehouse, and those jobs are here because of the access to the port.
You've been in economic development for a while in Chesapeake. Mm-hmm. Click off for me a few companies that have come into Hampton Roads, and particularly, I guess, to Chesapeake. And it could be any city around here because of that port. I
think a very good example is BECHR Hydraulics. It's a company that's a German company that manufactures hydraulic systems for some of John Deere's one, BMW. But it took 42 days for them to manufacture a part in Germany and get it to their customers in Iowa. So they needed to be able to move some things, some parts and components to build these hydraulic systems and build them here. But they're bringing all those parts in through the port, taking advantage of the foreign trade zone, which gives them significant incentives to import, manufacture in the foreign trade zone, and then export on to their customers. So they can deliver those goods and products in a week, 2 or 3 days sometimes if there's an emergency, but that significantly cut down their operation time.
Let's drill down for a second since we have you here, because folks want this region to cooperate, and often they look at economic development and they say, well, those all guys are fighting with each other and all this sort of thing. But I'm sure every city around here, and not just every city around here, but a lot of cities across the country would like to have that company come to their community. Tell me what economic development does from the state level, regional level, local level to get that company somewhere in Hampton Roads.
Right. Well, Kathy mentioned we're partners, and we travel together around the world and across the United States telling businesses and people that are looking for an opportunity to grow their business about the advantages of being in Hampton Roads. We do that. You had Rick Weddle in your first panel. We certainly travel with Hampton Roads Economic Development Alliance. I don't think there's a more regional group of folks than economic development organizations, because we have to go around the world and tell the story of, first, Virginia, And then you're telling the story of Hampton Roads. Before you can even talk about Chesapeake or Portsmouth or any other individual city, you have to sell the assets of the entire state and then the region to convince someone that, hey, that's a great place to be.
And the assets, and we talked about this a little bit in our first segment too, was about the workforce. And in fact, Rick Weddle says, number one is labor force. I mean, ADP, as we discussed in our first segment, as everybody knows, is coming to Norfolk because they believe that we can provide them 1,800 people on a continuing basis, and we can keep, pumping the pipeline with people, and they have to come out of our educational institutions. Do you feel that as the responsibility at TCC? I've got to serve these companies.
Absolutely. And in fact, Ben White and Stephen Wright have partnered with TCC, brought us into the conversation with companies that are thinking about locating in Chesapeake or in the region to talk about what we do. And industry really does drive our curriculum. And what they're telling us from the industry is that we need to focus on mid-level skills, those that may be more than a high school diploma, but not quite a degree.
Is that what you're preaching to the kids over in the high schools and even down to the kindergarten level? You guys are starting young with teaching them about the business of business.
Yeah, we do a good job of giving them the building blocks that every kid is going to need no matter what business they go into. But we also do a good job of career exploration and partnering with, let's say, the port to where we do a job shadow where they will open their doors and show kids every aspect of the port and the jobs that are available there. We work with TCC, of course, as a great partner in workforce development and those soft skills that you need to get a job. So, what we do is hopefully we inspire kids to succeed, but we also want to open up doors and show them what, is available here in Hampton Roads.
And Ryan, I know one of the things that colleges, whether at the community college level or four-year college level, is you don't want them to walk out with all that debt and not be able to find a job. So
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're constantly talking to them about, look, let's talk about what you're going to do with this skill. And yeah, you like to do this, but is there money to be made in that? Is that that's the conversation a lot,
That
isn't
is
it?
the conversation, because they definitely do have to somehow figure out how they're going to get a return on their investment from a private institution like Hampton University. So our focus is definitely a diversity pipeline. It's been our focus, but with new emerging diversity populations like LGBT and Latinos, we really have to redefine what we're offering the marketplace. And I think, I specifically focus on digital media innovation because of the lack of diversity in Silicon Valley. I think that there's an opportunity in Hampton Roads for us to get into gaming and technology and those types of things that really does drive we're the content drivers in my school, so we like to provide the content, and I think that can be done really in any region. So I see it as an opportunity for this region for us to get into gaming and technology and digital media innovation.
That's a really good point, because we've talked about the three-legged stool, and we talked about professional services with Rick Weddle in our first segment, but there are potentially emerging industries that all we need is some talent.
Absolutely.
Who can start it and go with it. Is that
absolutely? So we've started a pilot program for the Center for Innovation in Digital Media through a grant from the Knight Foundation. So we've launched that at Hampton, and what we do is create a pipeline for local high school students to come and learn about digital media innovation, and then we also do symposiums where we let the corporate leaders and managers and thought leaders know that we are a pipeline for diversity, because diversity is still a key issue in 2016 and moving forward.
And that's a key, because a lot of the kids want to do things, and maybe some of us older folks don't really understand what they want to do, but there may be a market. Right?
That's right. There might be opportunity in those things that are emerging. However, what we're hearing is that the high demand, high pay jobs are really available here in the region for those that either fix things or fix people. Yep. So we're talking about engineering, applied engineering. So we're talking about millwrights, welders, those in mechatronics and manufacturing, or health professions. There's lots of jobs there. High demand, high pay. And
don't necessarily need the four-year education sometimes. They need to get the certifications and that sort of thing too. And that's part of the change of the mindset for parents is, you may be able to get what you need at TCC?
That's exactly right. And in the manufacturing careers particularly, it's about changing the perceptions of what we think about old school manufacturing and how that industry has really changed. And we're working with our schools and we're working with the city to try to change those perceptions and with the industry, because those are no longer dead-end, dirty jobs. They're computerized, enclosed machinery, clean facilities, and certainly not dead-end. They have robust professional development opportunities and continuations in pathways through an associate's, a bachelor's, and even a master's degree.
And you can still live in Chesapeake and do them, right, Ben? We're going to take a break. Be back with our panel right after this.
The Community Emergency Response Team, CERT, is a partnership between emergency services and the citizens of Chesapeake. By training volunteers in basic emergency skills, our community is much more prepared for a disastrous event that could overwhelm or delay the city's fire and EMS services. Teams are located throughout the city, meet monthly, and train quarterly. CERT needs more members who want to give back and serve their community. For more information about CERT and how you can help, go to cityofchesapeake.net and join your local team today.
We finally bought a place.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
So at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save. How is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Full funding for education and make sure that the schools are kept up to date, modern.
Education, jobs also go hand in hand.
I'm interested in our schools and what's best for that.
All those sound bites were captured on Election Day, and of course a lot of folks were saying, hey, I'm here to vote because I want to make sure we have as much funding as we can for schools, which is music to your ears in economic development, because I would think a lot of companies come in and the first thing they want to know is, well, tell me about your schools.
Absolutely. People don't realize it sometimes maybe, but even elementary education is economic development. You know, the quality of the workforce, even starting at a very young age, and how it develops through time. Kevin and I are working on economic development every day. He's helping educate those young children that'll be your future workforce. So it is very important, and we have businesses, even international businesses, that come here and they're deciding between two communities. Maybe it's Hampton Roads and Baltimore. And the decision maker at the end of the day is going to be the person that's moving here and running that company, and has to find the quality of life that they want. And the most important thing to that person is, where will my son go to school? Where will my daughter graduate?
But every school's not the same as every other school. I mean, in every community, whether it's Hampton Roads or Richmond or Charlotte or whatever, is saying we got great schools. I mean, what is the differentiator?
Quality of schools.
I mean, they're looking at test scores, they're looking at academies, specialization. Kevin, what are they looking at?
So I think the big thing is that they're looking at opportunities for their kids, right, when they move here. And I think we talk about millennials and we talk about entrepreneurship. The only way to learn that is give kids, no matter what school they come from, an opportunity to do, right? They're only going to learn when they get in there. They learn that they can do it. And a good time to do that is when they're young, when they can fail and it not put them into bankruptcy, right? When they can make mistakes. And these are going to be our future, business owners, our business leaders, whether they're going to be entrepreneurs or what we call intrapreneurs, and that's working for somebody else and thinking entrepreneurially. Giving our kids opportunities to kind of experience that, and millennials and even younger, they love doing. They don't like talking about it, and they learn more from doing and being hands-on.
Is that what you kind of hear too, Ryan?
Oh, absolutely. Whether, as Kevin was saying, I'm teaching, problem solving from an entrepreneurial standpoint or problem solving from an intrapreneurial standpoint, they want to be active, they want to model, they want to get in there, and they want it to be a hands-on experience. And I think, to retain, if we're talking about retention of millennials in this area, then we're really going to have to think about the landscape of what we're offering. It can't be the same thing that, our parents wanted or our grandparents wanted. They want, the internet has transcended boundaries and there are no borders. So what they see on their third screen, be it their phone, their tablet, or their computer, is what they want to see reflected in their city. And so we have to really, encourage small businesses to kind of pop up and offer something that's different from a chain store or a chain restaurant. They want to feel like they discovered something. They want to feel like they are involved in the community. They want it to be, unique and exclusive. I think that millennials thrive on that I'm here and we're the #1 producer of, or we are an exception because we are #1 here. And they want to then have that tagline, have that hashtag, have whatever it is that, they can then brag about on social media. So I think that we really have to think about the landscape of what our economic future really looks like.
We still need longshoremen, though.
Absolutely.
And we still need welders, and we still need ship fitters, right?
We do, and I think what it comes down to, Joel, is connectivity.
Yeah.
The theme I hear across is connectivity. When new businesses come in, when young people are looking for that career pathway, they want to see a connection, right? So you're right, we have certification programs at TCC, in warehousing, in logistics, in welding, things like that. So if that is the career pathway, it's available to them. We also have, global trade and all of the communications piece that we do, making sure that the community understands what the port does, how you access us. All of those different elements is about connectivity and seeing a pathway. So when we work with Junior Achievement, and we have that job shadowing, we don't just put students with the longshoremen. We have folks who sit in sustainability, who sit with folks in communications, who sit with folks in operations. They see the choices and the opportunities and how it connects to the community in which they live. And
so
that's
there's a broad set of jobs now that are in every industry, and it's not just turning a wrench. It's actually looking at a computer screen and understanding IT and that sort of thing.
That's right. And at Tidewater Community College, we've engaged with the public schools in new ways to create pipelines for the industries. And we've engaged in what we call industry education partnerships, led by economic development, the public schools, TCC, and the industry partners. And we have conversations about how we can create new pipelines. And so out of that came a new pipeline in the area of manufacturing and mechatronics. And it allows a student to take classes while they're still in high school. At the same time that they graduate from high school, they have 1 year of a career study certificate completed and 2 industry credentials. So they can go to work right out of high school and then continue on in their education.
So, because I've heard Governor McAuliffe talk a lot about this, that we sort of a lot of our education is still sort of industrial age in the way we do it, and we need to be a lot more nimble. Are we getting the message out there? Are you seeing that, Kevin?
Yeah, I think that it is being promoted in all of our school systems that, it's not just an assembly line job anymore, that everything is automated and we need people to be productive. We need people that know how to run this automation and know, along with the soft skills that are needed to succeed in the workplace. It's the computer programmers. It's a changing, kind of landscape.
Beach, Kempsville High School, where my kids went in Virginia Beach, we're now going to have a business and entrepreneurial academy that you can get the dual enrollment with TCC and leave with an associate's degree, saving you a lot of money and time. We're going to have more discussion with this wonderful panel right after this.
Living in Chesapeake means being part of an active, involved community.
Every week, there are activities and new projects that can affect your family and your daily life.
Keeping up with what's going on is sometimes difficult, but we are making it a lot easier.
48 News keeps you up to date on what's happening in Chesapeake. We bring you the people and information that shape the city we all call home.
From Western Branch to Hickory, from the Dismal Swamp to Indian River.
From new business ventures to emergency preparedness to your child's classroom.
48 News takes you where Chesapeake is making news.
Make 48 News a regular part of your television viewing every Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Or catch up with the latest news anytime online at cityofchesapeake.net/TV.
If you care about Chesapeake, watch 48 News on WCTV, Chesapeake Television.
My name is Sean Taylor, and I am a 2016 Old Dominion University graduate. And one thing that I think would really benefit the Hampton Roads community is more opportunity for job growth within a selected field, because a lot of young people tend to move out of the region because there isn't a lot of advancement.
Sean was certainly preaching to this choir and what we've been talking about here for the last 40 minutes or so about job growth in this region, because we want to keep Sean in Hampton Roads. And that's our challenge, right?
Yes. That's our challenge because, they leave this market for the market that offers some of the things that we were speaking of before, which is why I really do see it as an opportunity. If we're co-op working spaces, that's what a lot of millennials are looking for, with those shared kind of working spaces where you rent the space for really low and you have a desk that you can go in and you work and you collaborate with everyone else around you. It spurs ideas, it spurs innovation, and I just think that we really need to speak to the millennial. I mean, we have to admit, whether we get them or not, whether we love them always staring at their phones, whether we should have, no texting and walking signs up in our cities, whether we get it, they are our future, and they're our future leaders, they're our future business owners, and if we can retain them in the Hampton Roads area, I think that it will be very beneficial to our economic growth.
And I know, we always hear about in Norfolk with Zach Miller, who's a good friend of mine, and doing the Hatch Norfolk stuff, and they're talking about doing some of that stuff in Portsmouth and Virginia Beach. And in economic development, you have to sort of set up those spaces. I mean, you're not the typical urban environment in Chesapeake like Norfolk is. How do you adapt to create those spaces, those opportunities, so they can come to you?
Well, we're certainly seeking opportunities to partner with some of our higher education institution, Tidewater Community College, Old Dominion University, where we can, to create some collaborative space like you're describing, and opportunity for those students to work together and work with industry to further themselves and further the businesses that could take advantage of their skills.
And even like with the port, I mean, do you need laboratories to be thinking like this, like he's talking about the new way we're going to engage companies to come here to provide the services that ports need to be providing?
Well, so interestingly enough, as we move to automation, we are seeing more and more that folks in that age range need to understand how the port itself is changing. So automated cranes, the investment, the $350 million investment from the General Assembly and the governor I spoke of earlier, is to modernize our largest container facility. And instead of the traditional driving a straddle carrier, which is a large piece of equipment that runs over, these are automated cranes that run in 12.5 miles an hour all day and all night, but they need the assistance of someone in a room that's actually looking on 3 screens and using joysticks to lower the container that last, 30 seconds and then lock. So folks don't realize that. So if we're not out in the community, at the community colleges, at the four-year colleges, even in the classrooms, making them aware that there are these opportunities, most kids in elementary school, they want to wear a cape, right? They want to be a superhero, they want to be a police officer, they want to be a sports figure. But we have to show them right here in Hampton Roads, we have opportunities where those video game skills that they're building today can be used to really be the future of our gateway to global economy right here in Hampton Roads.
And it's about the partnerships, because you cannot be the ivory tower in higher education today. Your ear has to be to the ground.
That's absolutely right. One of the things we're talking about is engaging with students about creating what they call a makerspace. The makers
We're going to have one
phenomena.
at that entrepreneurial academy I was talking about.
Yes. And the folks want hands-on. The students want hands-on activity. They want to be able to come in and make things. If you've seen the TV show How It's Made, they're very interested in 3D printers and using the equipment and all the machinery and working together collaboratively to create things.
And what gets ninth graders excited? Is it this stuff too?
It's a lot of the same things. So, collaboration is key, and I think that they love coming together in a team and realizing that each of them brings a certain talent to that team, right? So not all of your people that have technical skills, right, or your cyber people, they're great, but they're also going to need some sales and marketing help, right? And some people aren't great with numbers. So that's the cool thing about JAGHR, I think, is, you know, it brings kids together and lets them kind of find out what their talents are and how they work together.
Is that what gets you excited in college when you see that kind of collaboration happening within a team?
Absolutely, and so that has been our focus, is not just interdisciplinary coursework, but interdisciplinary teams. And in the past, you've had teams that were doing a lot of group work within their discipline, but everyone on that team was within the same discipline. And now where we're moving in higher education is really having someone from engineering, someone from the art department, someone from communication, someone from business, all coming together and collaborating for and towards innovation. And I would add that I would love for the freshmen that I'm receiving, you know, their first year to already have coding experience. And I tell all of my students that yes, we can, you know, push Spanish, we can push Chinese, we can push Arabic as languages that you might need to know in our global culture, but the language you really need to know in this landscape is the computer coding language.
Cyber. Yep. All the parents that are out there, this is the challenge for them because they want to direct their kids in partnership with the schools, right?
Right.
And say, because it would be nice to know Arabic, you know, if you're thinking about international studies or national relations and such, but you're right, there is an international language called coding.
Yep.
And
Cyber,
that's the kind of thing you're telling us.
That's universal.
Yes.
Right, and cyber, we haven't even talked about cyber in the last hour, but that's like the next big thing, right?
Absolutely.
Are you teaching that over there?
We actually just yesterday received word that we are going to be a National Center of Excellence for Cybersecurity. A very rigorous application, and we just learned that yesterday. So absolutely, absolutely, it is the next best thing.
And I think the one thing that sort of ties all this together is how quickly you have to react to the way the world's changing.
Absolutely.
We're truly in a global economy, right, Ben?
Absolutely. We really are.
Yeah.
We really are. You talk about growing the industries here. We've got the three-legged stool that you described. If you want to grow the economy here, you have to look at opportunities like cyber to grow into something that we have a skill set here. We have exiting military, many of them with cyber skills. We have students leaving Hampton and other universities. We can build on those skill sets that we have here to build a fourth leg of that stool, or fifth or sixth.
Yeah, we need a bigger stool. There's no question about it. I think that's probably the bottom line of this hour. Listen, thank you very much, all of you. You're terrific, great leaders, great spokesmen for your institutions and for your generation, in some cases too. Thank you all very much for being part of our Decision Makers series. Thank you to WCTV and the Chesapeake Department of Economic Development. I'm Joel Rubin. Good evening.